Today I'm going to show you a more professional way how to get a moody film look in DaVinci Resolve, and I'm going to be going over some intermediate techniques today, some stuff that I haven't really shown on my channel before. So whether you're new here or have been here a long time, you're going to get a lot of information out of this video. Okay, to start, you're going to add another node, maybe two other nodes. You're going to drag one back here. I like to name this one output and then this one input. Now here we can add our exposure, contrast, saturation. Now after this, we're gonna add another node, Alt S, and then click Option or Alt P. And I'm going to get maybe 4 nodes, and this is a parallel node. It's basically just nodes stacked on top of each other. So instead of having it in a row like this, you have it all stacked on each other, so you can easily access it and you don't have to try to organize your nodes more. And here we're gonna say look, and that is our node setup. So for the input, how you're gonna set this up is you're gonna drag and drop your color space. You're going to put your camera's color space here. Mine's Rec 2020 and F-Log. Then for the output, you're gonna do DaVinci Wide Gamut. And then for the output gamma, DaVinci Intermediate. And as you can see, this makes your footage look super flat, super log. And what you're gonna do after this is copy this, scroll all the way to the end, and paste it. Now you're gonna swap this by hitting the swap button, and the input is now going to be DaVinci Wide Gamut and DaVinci Intermediate. And for the output, you're gonna do Rec 709 and Gamma 2.4. Now really quickly, I'm gonna go to color management. Since I have an Apple computer, and I don't want my gamma shifting, I'm going to do Rec 709A for the output color space. That way, I get a more accurate look of what I'm going to be looking at when it outputs. Now, if you don't have a Mac, you don't have to worry about this, but right now I'm editing on MacBook, so I have to do this. Now that we have everything set up, I can show you exactly what you need to do to get started. Now first, we have exposure. This is pretty simple. Go to your waveform. As you can see, this footage right here is a little overexposed. It depends on what your footage is, but for the input, I'm gonna do DaVinci Wide Gamut and DaVinci Intermediate. That way, when I'm editing this, it's very uniform. It's not going to really crush the highlights if I bring it up here, and it's not gonna really crush the blacks if I bring it all the way down here. And here, I just want this somewhere in the middle. For a more moody look, you sometimes wanna go a little lower. I think that looks pretty good right now. So now next, I'm going to add contrast. Now there's a few ways you can do this. You can either do this, but you can see how it's crushing the highlights right now and also crushing the blacks. Now it kind of rounds it off up here and raise this. I'm just gonna edit my pivot. I'm gonna make sure I don't go too far on this. As you can see, this is looking nice. Now for saturation, I want to do something that makes the saturation look deep, rich, dark, kind of like if I was shooting on film, because I want this to be a moody film look. So what I'm gonna do, go to color space, HSV, turn off channel 1, turn off channel 3. Then I'm just going to raise the gain. Then for here, gonna grab these blacks, grab the midpoints, then I'm gonna raise the blacks just a little bit. So I'm getting those deeper, darker, richer areas, and that is looking pretty good. Now, this is still kind of low on saturation. I want to just up the saturation just a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to here and just raise the saturation right here. Because if I went any further on the one over here, it might be too dark for what I'm looking for. So I'm just gonna raise it in the global just a little bit. Now, as you can see, this already looks pretty filmic. You got the deep colors, you got the rich saturation, and it looks like film. But next, I want to go to my look. Actually, first I'm going to balance the footage because right now it's looking a little bit blue for my taste. So I'm going to up the reds and oranges so you can see here it's like that hazy orange kind of glow in the highlights with that blue in the shadows. And I like where this is all sitting. Now I can make this more green. Since this is at blue hour, I'm just gonna keep it where it is. And that's looking super filmic right now and super beautiful. Now for my look, I will try to get some blues into these shadows and some warmth into these highlights. And as you can see, this is just creating that like kind of app and glow look. Also, you can see in these darker areas, it's very, very blue, so I'm going to have to correct that. So as you can see in the HDR panels, I did the lights and the darks. I made this more orangey blue, kind of magenta. And then here, I made this more blue and rich. With the gain, I made it more orange. And with the lift, I made it more blue. Now in this node, this is going to be my kind of like a little correction with my log wheels. In the highlights, as you can see, I made it very warm. I'm actually not going to do too much. I might just play with this, see what happens if I do that. As you can see, it kind of corrects those highlights just a little bit, but I actually like it like that, so I'm going to keep it. But with the shadows, as you can see, there's like a lot of this blue right here, and it's kind of the reflection from off the sky, but it's also because of what we did. And it's kind of giving it a little bit of an ugly tint. So very subtly, I'm just going to lift it up. And as you can see, I'm gonna go really overboard with this. Then I'm going to bring it down in my range. But I'm going to just bring that down. And as you can see, it is correcting it. And as you can see, this is a very subtle correction. And you might not even notice it, but here, if you look in the blacks, you'll see those just look a little more corrected. Up here, just slightly more corrected. And it's almost more feeling than noticeable. But next, I'm going to add a glow node. I'm going to bring down the shine threshold all the way, bring down the spread, bring down the gain. Instead of add, I'm gonna go to soft light. As you can see, this makes the colors look deep and rich. And basically what I'm going to do is adjust the gain until the exposure looks right. So that looks a little overexposed. I kind of want it more moody. I want it more dark, kind of like more orange and teal. And I really like it at 0.257 right now. It's looking great. For the threshold, I'm going to bring it up so that I just get those shadows a little more. I can spread it out, or I can keep it where it is. I think I'm going to spread it though. Me personally, I'm not gonna go too far in the spread because I don't want it to spread too far into other areas. I kind of want it to be more contrasty. So I think I'm gonna go 0.55 or 0.53. And that's looking really good right now. And this is almost like making a vignette, as you can see here. And it's really making those highlights stand out, whereas the shadows, they get darker. Here we have brightness recovery. If you see that it's making your highlights too bright, as you can see here, my reds are kind of up there, but this isn't gonna help much. And actually, I'm just gonna keep that the same. Then for the blend, I'm going to bring it all the way down and then just keep it going up until I like it. Then I'll go all the way up and bring it down until I like it. And I'm liking it around halfway, as you can see. And if I have it all the way up, that looks really great, but it's kind of strong. So I might bring it up a little more than halfway, just to really create that moody kind of film-like look. Then for this fourth one for my look, I'm going to personally add a vignette. And I'm just gonna do a simple one, kind of like this, drag it out, drag it in, make the softness huge, drag this down, and you can see right now it's affecting the middle of it, but if I invert it here, you can see now it's just doing the outside. I'm going to bring the size in, up the feather, and now as you can see, I have a nice vignette, and it might look a little too much. It's a little subtle, but it's really capturing that huge vintage film look. And this is looking really, really good so far. Now, you have a nice film look already right now. This is looking pretty great, but if you wanted, you can put the output as Cineon film log, and you can see right here, this is kind of like really, really yellow. So if you wanted, you could put saturation compression. That way it doesn't clip those saturation points. Then you can add a node here, and here I'll go down to LUTs, go to film looks, and go to Kodak's 2383 LUT. They have a few different ones. I'm gonna go with the one that has the most warmth in the highlights. And as you can see, this is way too much. So you can just get rid of some of this contrast. Here, this kind of looks faded now because I'm just kind of like deleting it all the way. But if I put this at 0.5, maybe turn that up a little bit, then edit the exposure a little bit. And instead of doing that, I'll just create an offset, bring that down. Here you can see, now you're creating this film look, one that where you turn it on and you turn it off. Because when you have Gamma 2.4, it looks like this. It's more magenta, kind of like glowy. This is more of a Rec 709. But when you have it with the film log, with the film print, then edit that, then put this around 5. You can see this is more of a regular film print type look. And it's very beautiful. This is like a more advanced kind of way to set up your nodes. And this can all be done in the free version of DaVinci Resolve. But if you have the paid version, or if you have Dehancer, you can add grain. So here I have 709, I can turn that off. Go here, 35 millimeter. And you can see right now, this looks very intense, but that's because this is in between the Cineon log and between this. So if you put it in between here and you just put that at the end, now you have film grain for your footage. And this is very moody, this is very filmic, and this is a more intermediate to advanced way of setting this up. Now that you know how to create the moody look, you might want to know how to create a pastel look with this video here.